All right, welcome to the LAKC Podcast. This is Magic Fox. I haven't been around in a while. I'm super sorry. I just have been focusing on myself and then trying to relaunch this podcast. The previous people that I was working with, they moved on and they're having great lives, and I miss them dearly because they were such beautiful people. But I do have a guest with me today. His name's Super Jesus. Say hi.
What's up, everybody?
This will be a rotating podcast. We'll have rotating topics and rotating people in and out because there's always something you can learn from a different type of person in kink. If you're interested in joining, please tell me in the messages of LAKC, and I will do my best to get back to announcing events as soon as I can. It's just simply something that I have not been doing due to disinterest and the fact that I've been working on myself. I'll try to get back on it because it does help you guys out a lot, and I love you. And we're going to talk about some topics today. We're going to talk about relationship building, frenzy, and partner selection. So stick around. Are you ready, Super Jesus?
I'm ready.
Cool. Had to go back for a second. Let's just introduce ourselves so people can kind of understand who we are. So I'm Magic Fox. I've been around for a really long time. I've been around for about 12 years. I started teaching at my not even that. I started teaching at around my 10th year. I have been to every dungeon in the LA area, and I have also taught a bunch of classes, impact, relationship classes. I have done personal teaching in terms of domination and relationship dynamics. I've taught knife play, electric play, and almost every type of physical play. So if you ever have any questions or need any help, please feel free to ask in the messages and we'll get back to you. And if it's like a big enough question, we'll put it on the podcast and have an expert come on to help you, because even though I've taught, that doesn't mean I know everything. I'm still learning. And I look forward to interacting with you all and teaching you whatever I know and sharing with you whatever I learn. What about you, Super Jesus?
I've been in the lifestyle publicly for 3 years now, and I've just been enjoying every minute of it. I started out at Sanctuary with the Awakening Party, and it was such an experience that I just kept coming back. I got to see Mistress Cyan doing her thing, and it was inspiring. And I got to see people in the scene at Threshold, at Lair, and at different parties being who they are and just having fun and letting themselves be free. And it's been the one thing I thought was missing in life. I found it here.
Yay. Oh, that's so cute. I've only seen Cyan do her thing one time, and I've tried to talk to her several times, but every time I see Cyan is busy. So one day we will interact. Hopefully we'll have her on the podcast now, because I have a ton of questions for her. I have a ton of questions for anyone who's been in the scene for over 20 or 30 years, because there's just a whole new way of seeing things when you've reached that like amount of time. So yeah. That's how I feel about it. We're gonna start off with wow, I should not have turned this off. We're gonna start with relationship building. I think that's really important right now because pandemic and people are seeking things, and like the basics are coming into like really hard right now in terms of finding out who's actually really going to be a good partner to you in these times. Because what I've learned and researched and understood is a lot of people are looking for something that is not going to be long term, or they're tricking themselves into thinking that something short term could be long term when that's probably not the case. So I think we should talk about some of the basics about partner selection that will help people really understand what they truly want and where they're going forward. And just to tell everyone, if you have a different opinion or you have some tips that you want to share, put them in the comments below wherever you're listening to this, and we will put them into the next episode, because like I said, we're all learning even if we've taught. So I'm going to start first, and then Super Jesus, you can give your tips right after. I think that the tip that everyone should understand first and foremost about partner selection is know your worth. I have taught this at every relationship class that I've ever taught, is the relationship with another person starts with you. If you don't know yourself, if you don't know your worth, or if you don't know what you want, that relationship is going to be that much harder. I'm not saying it won't survive. I'm just saying you're going to eventually start to have to start learning that at some point if you want to stay with that person. And even as you learn, you may figure out you shouldn't be with that person. You can do better in terms of someone who values you more, or this, that, and the other. So know yourself. Know exactly what you want. For me, if I was to go out right now and look for someone, I know exactly what I want. I'm looking for a person that'll support me when I need support, a person that will let me support them, fantastic sex, and like a person who is interested in power exchange and is poly. Those are the things I'm looking for. If you don't have those things, and the number one thing for me is very open communication, because I've been traumatized with that. And if it's funny, but it's also very true. Like, if you can't communicate, I can't be with you, because there's things that I know about myself. If you don't communicate, I will stop enjoying your company. Like, I like to, even though I'm a dominant, I still like to communicate consistently and learn what my partner likes, because it's more fun to be a dominant when you know you're doing the right thing for your partner while having fun with them. That's just me, and I know myself. I also know that my time is worth a lot more now, as I've switched from being a person who goes to work as a person who like is now an entrepreneur. So I know I won't have a whole lot of time with everyone, because I got work to do to keep my companies going. So I need a partner that understands that. And also what I want from a partner. Maybe you don't want a long-term relationship like I do, or a relationship that will at least be persistent. You just want to bang, and that's fine. But you have to know those things so you can find a specific partner who will be okay with them. And those things need to be communicated so you understand what kind of partner you're trying to find. Because if you go to a person who's just like, I want sex, and you're hoping for like a year-long relationship, you're gonna have a bad time. So know yourself, know your worth, and know what you want. Communicate those things, and you're going to have a lot better time trying to find a partner. Because especially once you start looking at people and then deciding that they're not a person that you want, you start radiating this energy around you that people understand that, oh, okay, this person is like high value or extremely attractive, because they're not going to waste their time with something that they know they don't want or need. That's just kind of how it works. What do you got, Super Jesus?
I like all that. I think the biggest problem I see, like you said, is people not knowing what they want.
Yeah.
And this is the biggest problem exists because they're operating based on media or something else. They've seen 50 Shades of Grey 100 times.
Yeah.
And I want that. And it's different for S types and D types. I think for a lot of D types, the fantasy of it can become overwhelming, can become a true image that you want to fulfill, and so you're looking for the perfect person to fit that piece. And it can be similar for a sub or S type. You have someone that is, you say, I have a perfect image of the person who I want. They look like this, they work in this type of job, they have XYZ, and that's not how people work. That's a big issue, I would say, is to know what you want, but then allow the people in front of you to show themselves who they are, and to see what you like about them. You're not going to like everybody for every little thing, and you don't need that. People fit in different dynamics in different parts of your life.
Yeah, I agree. There's this new movement trying to get people to like see porn as it is, which is a fantasy, because it gives people unrealistic body expectations and stuff like that, and unrealistic expectations of sex. And I think that's happening in the scene too, where people will come in with these like really lofty ideals from either reading a book or watching a movie or talking to people who have been in relationships for years, and not understanding that those perfect scenarios either need to be negotiated and or built, or just aren't possible for you or the schema that you're looking for. And then you can realize that they're completely wrong. So we gotta understand that, hey, you may want these perfect things, but you either have to build to them or know yourself enough to figure out that they're not for you. I have a person who I am lucky, oh my God, so lucky enough, who just shouts, use me, at me all the time, and I'm just like, thank you Jesus for this is fantastic. But that also comes with like a ridiculous amount of responsibility. Like, she is so used to and this has happened in the past with other relationships, so used to being in that space where this person is like, they kind of co-opt the things that their partner enjoys. Like in Parks and Recreation, the Rashida Jones's character, she's just like, I don't know what I like, because I always just like the things that my partners have liked. That's super common. It's extremely common for both men and women in either role, and they don't know what they want, but they're willing to give themselves over to their partner entirely. Dominants do this too. Like, they will just be like, I will dominate you the way you want. And I used to have that mentality, and I've evolved it and changed it and made it my own. But that's important, because when you have that kind of freedom with your partner, you have to, it's so easy to not consider your partner's existence. It's easy to go like, this is what I want, they're allowing it, this is going to be great. Versus what, in my personal opinion, you can disagree, I totally understand, what a real dominant, or not a real dominant, what a dominant with experience should do is, if a person doesn't know what they want, take the time out to help them find it. Because the best stories that you hear of relationships that last a long time are usually the people that encourage their partner to explore or help them in that exploratory process. So I'm with a person who gives me a lot of freedom, and I love it, and I'm glad I've earned it, and she made it very clear that I did. But I also, in that freedom, I also go, well, like, what are some things that you enjoy? And she currently can't answer, and that's not a bad thing. It just means that to keep this relationship going, in my personal perspective, I got to go, all right, well, we're going to experiment all the time. We're going to go through as many things as possible. We're going to find stuff that makes you happy, turns you on, gets you interested, gets you excited, makes you want to explore more. And I've been lucky enough to have that trust where we found a few things. And that's what's important about it, is taking your freedoms and turning and giving yourself responsibilities to help your partner, so you can create that long-lasting relationship. And even if it's a small relationship where it's just sex, still explore. Like, try new things, try this, that, or the other, and have fun with it. Because I'm not gonna lie, I'm getting ready to buy a Lush too, because exploration, and they're just fun for me. So nice. I think that's really important.
I agree, man. I think there's a big problem right now in kink, is because we're separated, because this is supposed to be a community. We're supposed to be able to meet face to face and judge people effectively and make those decisions. And when we're separated like this, when we're separated from the community, we have to make a lot of these decisions on our own, and we have to be able to consider what we bring to the table and what we're looking for.
Yeah.
And I think it's really tough right now. But I think if you're looking for something specific, you should make that known. You should say, hey, this is what I want. Mm-hmm. And if you don't know what you want, that's also could be interesting. It could be, and I've met S-types who are literally telling me, I want to please you. I want to give everything to you. I want you to be happy. I want to see a smile on your face. And that gives me a lot to work with. There's plenty to work with there, even if it doesn't sound like a lot. Mm-hmm. It's a desire to serve. And I have something similar. I've been a service top as well in a lot of different environments.
We both have.
No, and especially if there's different ways to show connection and intimacy and closeness. And I love a lot of those things. And when I have a sub, for example, I put a lot of effort into massage and working out the back, because I don't like to have a play partner that's stiff. That's not my thing, but I recognize that, and I say, look, I'm going to take the time to do this, and it makes me happy to perform that, mm-hmm. and it makes me happy to see the results of that, and to see a sub in a more relaxed state and a more fun state. And I think that's really important, just to be able to recognize, even if you're not sure and you're just getting into it and you're curious about experimenting, think deep in your mind. Mm-hmm. What is it that you enjoy? What is it that you want out of the relationship?
Yeah.
Even if it's just to make someone else happy, you can find that.
Yeah, and I want to. And the whole point of this podcast is to chat about subjects and have fun. So we will make fun of stuff. Just don't take it seriously. But I will say, as to help give you guys value, journal about it. And if you only can write one line, which is to make you happy as a dominant or submissive, because dominants do have the whole "I want to make you happy" thing. That is a thing. We're called service tops. We exist. We are beautiful. That's okay. But make sure you start trying to expand on it over time. Keep journaling about it until you start to really go deep into it. So one day or for the next 3 or 5 days, you may write, "I just want to make you happy." But then put under that, and maybe the 11th day you're journaling. How can you do that? Like, think in your head what would be interesting, or how would you do that? Because when you start asking yourself those really interesting questions, you start to understand what kind of person you are or want to be. And then I recommend something that was recommended to me by Lost and Found One, which is just write out what your ideal lifestyle would be, or your ideal partner, with like no restrictions. Like, if your partner is a 10-foot alien who shoots beams out of his eyes and can speak Japanese, fine, write that out, because you want to know what really gets you going. For me, I'm just, because transparency is king, and I want like people to understand, I want 3 partners. and I want them all to have very different roles in my life. One is a mommy top because I crave intimacy. One is someone who I can just use without having to think, but we're still like really close. And a third one who's basically my secretary. Why? Because that's just what I want. I find that ideal. And even though I have those simple definitions of like who I hope those people will be, I fully understand that it will be a negotiated relationship where we're still people and we're treated like people and we'll have a beautiful relationship regardless. And what's amazing is knowing that I've seen my ideal relationship exist. I hang out with the people who have my ideal relationship on a regular basis. So know that, understand that, and then you'll start to see how you can make these things happen. And then when you see people who are emulating that lifestyle or living that life, you can ask questions to see how you can make it work for you. And then if it doesn't work for you and you figure out you've changed, it's okay. Just keep writing, keep understanding, or keep thinking, whichever way helps you understand yourself the most. You want to add on to that?
No, I think we're good.
All right, cool. We're going to move on to Frenzy because that's super important. Once again, if you're hearing this on any platform, please in the comments below, write your opinion. We are two males, and we understand that our perspectives are not yours, so we really appreciate it in the comments below. You just put your 2 cents in there, be respectful. If it's respectful, I'll put it on the show because I love new opinions. If it's disrespectful, it's getting deleted, and I probably will block you because I don't want any negativity in my environment, especially at this time. So,
well, you want to go a step further and say we're cis het males.
Yeah, I'm actually queer now because I realized that my tastes have changed, and I'm not just attracted to women. I'm attracted to a lot of things. So so cis, one queer, one hetero, and we will have other people on the show. Don't worry, it's not going to be just us two all the time, but it is that today. So yeah, just put your comments and 2 cents in below, because like I said, I like learning, and since I'm a teacher, I really value your opinion, and I want to make sure that I continue learning from the community that I love so much. So the next one is Frenzy, because we know it's pandemic time. Everyone's inside trying to do things, but they can't because you could give COVID to somebody else, and that'd be really bad. So Frenzy, in my opinion, is about to be insane. It's already bad. I asked my friends in a specific Discord, I'm like, how are you guys doing today? And all of them were like, horny. And I was just like, I died laughing. I was like, this is great. But then I worried, like, oh no. And then I asked a more specific question, how are you handling it? And they're all like, furious masturbation. And I'm like, oh no. Well, like, not in a bad way. It was just like, I can tell something crazy is going to happen when we're allowed to go to parties again. Frenzy is going to be insane. Oh my god.
Frenzy tends to be more for the newer people in the scene, and that's what I'm seeing a lot of right now. It's not just the desire and not just the need to play. I've seen that a lot right now, especially people in the community who don't have a partner right now and don't have places to go to and to play at. The need for it is killing people. I'm looking at Discord always, and I see the amount of people who are just posting memes and posting all kinds of funny stuff.
Yeah,
they've got some real sexual energy that needs to be spent,
or pointed.
Yeah, and I think right now the frenzy to worry about is for new people in the scene.
Yeah,
right now the worry is because we don't have those places. We don't have the classes. We don't have sanctuary. We don't have fresh open. The new people coming in are going to jump in 2 feet first. But
they're going to jump in face first.
Yeah, face first, exactly. There's no community. There's no regulation. There's no slow way to ease into it and to learn about it. And that's a generally a bad time. People right now, especially if they're cooped up, not only do they want sex, but they're starting to get more creative in their porn watching and everything else. And so the desire for...
Everybody's on an FBI watch list now.
The desire for kink among the general population is going up right now. And that's exactly what leads to frenzy. In their first couple of months, they're going to be jumping around looking for partners. Yeah. And this can be good if you're in the scene and you're looking for new partners. This can be good, but it can be bad for them because there's too many people out there that are disconnected. They're just like, hey, I'd make a good partner. Let's chat up, let's talk, and let's meet, let's see if it works. And the people coming in new, they don't have anything to work with. That's the worst thing if you're coming in with ignorance. So it's if what I want to say is, if you know anybody who's interested in kink, and you can send them, get them started on FET, but also get them started in different groups on Discord, or anything, and just find ways to get them more invested and more involved in a wider community. That's the best thing we can do right now, and that's the best cure for frenzy, is get them having all the fun sex and play that they want, but make it safe.
Of course. I think I'll probably create an LAKC Discord, just because like LAKC grew really fast. So like I think it's kind of, if I can manage it and get some people to help, we'll totally create a Discord so people can safely chat. But I will say I disagree with you slightly. I think that people in the scene who have been in the scene for a long time will have just as crazy a frenzy as the new people. Yeah,
really?
Yeah, because you gotta understand, like, you're asking people who have drank from the fountain of sex to not drink from it for a bunch of months. And yes, some of you are gray ace and non-sexual and stuff like that, but you know what I mean, like this really interesting new thing in your life that helps and heals and entertains you is now gone because it requires a partner most of the time. So you're asking them to like taste of this new fruit and then go without it for a long time. I don't care if you've been in the scene for 100 years. Yes, you're going to come back with frenzy. And frenzy also happens when you find something new. So like, let's say a person who's done impact play for 50 years finds out fire play is amazing. They're going to have fire play frenzy. It just happens. The only difference is like a person who's like been in the scene for a long time who has frenzy will probably be able to manage it just a little bit better than the new person. So I just want to make that, in my personal opinion, that's very clear. If you have a different opinion, put it in the comments. I'd love to hear it. But I also want to disagree with you just a little bit, because I don't think we're disconnected. I think our communication is now different and we have to adapt to it. Because we can't meet up in person, but that's one aspect of how we communicate. We've got FetLife, we've got Reddit, and to be very clear, I'm talking about one specific Reddit, and that is BDSM advice. That is the one Reddit I trust. I think I told you before we started this podcast, I used to be on that a lot, like every day, just replying to as many things as possible. And then I realized, I was doing it out of like an unneeded necessity, because I was like, maybe there people are giving bad advice, or my advice is better, or whatever. And that's not entirely true. Sometimes it was. So I'm not even gonna lie to myself. Sometimes some of the advice was just, it wasn't bad, but it was incomplete, and I had to like fill in the gaps. But as I kept going, I realized, everyone on this Reddit feels the same. When someone comes up with a question, or as many people as possible will give as much advice as possible and as many resources as possible. So I trust BDSM advice, and if that changes, let me know. And if that changes, I'll let you know, because that's one of my favorite Reddits. Not only that, there are a lot of things that you can search for, like new groups on FET, and I really like that there's, when you go on FET, it's not just, some people treat it as a dating site. That's a warning to anyone, especially female presenting people on FET. People will treat it as a dating site. Just hit that block button. That's all I gotta say. Don't even deal with it. Just hit the block button. That is my advice to you. If you read the messages continually, you're kind of doing it to yourself. That's just me. Sorry. Hit the block button. But other than that, just search for groups. BDSM 101 is a great group run by Lost and Found One. She's an amazing instructor, and I will recommend her until she stops teaching. And find other newbie groups, especially in your area. And because you can't go to a bunch, just see what Discord groups are doing, like video chatting and stuff. And yes, I do recommend Discord, just because Discord's a little bit more streamlined in terms of video chatting and in terms of chatting in general. So there's resources. There's BDSM advice. There's new groups on FET. There's probably meetup groups on Meetup, like more so than there used to be. And LAKC started on Meetup. So there is ways for people to learn. It'll just be a slower process than going in person and being able to talk to people, like, if she ever shows up, Mr. Cyan, or any of the other instructors that go to Munches. So there's a way to do it. It's just going to be slower and less physical. And I guess, like, learn to masturbate until you find your perfect partner, because this is going to be a minute. And I know it's the thing that everyone doesn't want to hear, especially when you're in frenzy. Just take your time. And also, if you decide not to take your time, fine. Do something that I learned in BDSM 101, which is called, what is it? I forgot what it's called. But it's basically where you tell a person where you're going and where and when. So if they don't hear from you, like, by a specific time, they know to call the police or to go to that location. Like, just safety precautions.
Yeah, check-ins are normal.
Yeah,
but I think
no, they're not. They're not normal.
What do you mean?
Dude, I have played with tons of people, and I've helped tons of people because, like I said, I do private like lessons and teachings for people who want to learn but don't want people to know they're learning to be a sub and or dominant. Dude, most people don't even think about that, and I'm not even gonna lie. I'm ashamed to say it. When I started reading BDSM 101, I didn't even think about it. I was like, what? Oh yeah, why did I not? Because it's such a simple topic, and we can't gloss over simple topics. Like, most people don't think of check-in calls. They just don't. Most people don't, like, they know that they should have safety precautions. They probably take some, but like, and that may be like carrying pepper spray or whatever, but it's not as something simple and as effective as, hey, friendo, I'm going to this place for a date. You don't even have to tell them it's like a kinky hangout. It's like, I'm going for a date. If I don't call you by 12, fucking come get me or call the police, either or, whichever you negotiated. Like, it sounds simple and it sounds like people have like should be doing, but trust me, it's not a common thing, and we can't gloss over simple things too, because I want new people listening to this to understand that it's okay that you haven't thought about it before, but we're telling you, do that. That will be helpful to you.
Good. That's good. That's really good advice.
Yeah.
I think one of the other topics I've heard a lot about is, especially on Reddit. Reddit has, in addition to the BDSM advice page, is a BDSM personals, and one is it's a little bit more of a free-for-all, but I think that page allows you to look at the people in your area, and it allows you to post and look for very specific things. And because your writing style tells a lot about you, and the way you can contact and talk to people back and forth on Reddit, it allows you to find people. It's like, I've seen people who are like, if you're going on Tinder, everyone's gonna say, hey, I'm a Pam looking for her gym, like every other message. But if you're on Reddit, you get to be a little more personalized and to look for something a little more close to you and that connects with you, and you're more likely to find something.
I encourage people to just read them for reading's sake. You can kind of understand what people are doing, looking for, and you can understand the community around you. Because like the Tinder, which is the clearance rack of humanity, does show you that people are going to like be non-useful to you in the vanilla community. But then you go to, BDSM personals, and there's a guy going like, yo, I just want somebody to kick me in the nuts while I watch The Office. Like, can you do that for me? You know what I mean? Like, it's more honest. And what's even more interesting is, yes, we'll have people from the vanilla community slip in, or people in the community who don't know themselves or are not fully educated yet, so they'll be the fuckboy that we make fun of, or the fuck girl that we make fun of. Yes, fuck girls exist. They are terrible. Just as terrible as fuckboys. But they're worse, in my personal opinion, because they're better at writing and you won't notice them. They're like ninjas. So I think it's great that you should read these, because then you'll start to recognize patterns as to people who don't know what they want, don't know what they're talking about, don't know this, that, or the other. And I recommend this mostly to female presenting people in the scene. And I say female presenting because there are some people who are non-binary and this, that, and the other who just really like feminine clothing. So that's what I mean by female presenting, that you're not traditionally female, but you present yourself as such.
But you gotta
learn those patterns.
Well, I've seen a lot of posts and people saying, "Oh, look at me! I just want to play. I have no limits." And that's not just a red flag. That's a whole parade of red flags right there. It's
the Cuban Missile Crisis of red flags.
Right. It's a dangerous thing, and you get to see a lot. But there's also a lot of people trying to promote their OnlyFans or Insta or something else, which is something you accept. But you don't want to get caught up in that. Yeah,
I will say to people who are like promoting their OnlyFans or Instagrams, more power to you. I believe in sex work. Have fun. But if you're doing that, just message me. I'm a social media manager. I'll tell you a better way to promote yourself than like shoehorning yourself into sections of the internet where people are actually looking for intimacy. There's better ways to doing it. You're just gonna get people to hate you, and then eventually somebody who has like gray hat experience like I do will probably just like they will kill your reach due to like social media suppression, which is real. Like, I can suppress any account with just hashtag blocking. It's super easy. So just hit me up if you're trying to like get that. I'll give you a free consultation. So, because I believe in sex work. So just hit me up on LAKC. You'll get a free consultation. I'll tell you what you should be doing, so you don't waste your time on like any other site. Now that we're past that, learn patterns. Because when you see people going like, I have no limits, it's really bad. And I'm going to explain why no limits is bad. As a dominant, no limits is bad because it doesn't tell us anything. It's like a blank piece of paper trying to be something more, and it's really scary. It's like, I have no limits, which means like, okay, what am I supposed to do? Usually people that say they have no limits don't know what they like, and that's why they have no limits. They don't know what they like. They don't know what they dislike. So you unintentionally make the relationship rely solely on your dominant completely, and that's a heavy burden, especially if you're offering nothing in return. And to be 100% honest, I don't care if you like it or don't, you can't offer anything in return if you don't know what you want, what you're capable of, and what you don't like. Because now the responsibility for us is to figure out and read this empty-paged book to understand you, or to get you to write the book so we can understand you. It's a lot of work, and it's usually thankless and usually not worth it. Some people can do it and they enjoy it, but I can guarantee you the majority of dominants don't want to deal with that. And not only that, it just shows your lack of experience, because then we can go in, then the usual joke of an experienced dominant is like, so I can cut off your arm? And they're like, no, wait, what? And I'm just like, that's what no limits means. It means I can cut off your arm and sell it on eBay, buy a house with it, and then when that house flops because of the crisis, I'm going to cut off your leg because I need more money. That's a big deal. And then from the submissive side, or the switch side, saying no limits or hearing no limits from a dominant is scary, because it's like, oh, so that means they're willing to do anything to you, versus talk to you, communicate with you, understand you, and understand the relationship you built. Because in a relationship, there are 3 parts of it. There's person 1, there's person 2, and there's the bond between those 2 persons. And if you're poly, then there's the bonds between all of those persons and the peoples in that relationship. If all of those things are not understood, your relationship is doomed to be harder. Not doomed to fail, because people can just exist in a hard relationship and it works, whatever. But it's doomed to be harder. So take the time to understand yourself, understand the connection you're building, and the other person on the side of that relationship or relationships. And it's as simple as taking the time to figure out what you like and don't like. You have the tools. You have LAKC. If you need help, I'll help you. And if I can't help you, I'll find people that can. You have FetLife. You can ask people who are clearly instructors or read all the resources online. You have YouTube and other tutorial sites, and you have BDSM advice. Take advantage of them. And if you need more help, start building a community, making friends, figure out who you can trust. And you will find a great community that will help you understand yourself and what you want, so you don't have to go into that room and go no limits. Now, to be fair, because this is a community full of amazing people, there are people out there with straight up no limits, and that is amazing. Go you, do you, have fun. But 9 times out of 10, a person going no limits is someone new, uneducated, or just probably trying way too hard to please the other side of the relationship and ignoring who they are, which is bad. It's okay to have limits, wants,
it's a big
and all that
issue.
stuff. Yeah.
I think a lot of subs that I've met, they use the term sub to get away with laziness. In the same way that some brats, or some people will call themselves brats, to get away with just constant asshole behavior.
Oh yeah, the I'm sarcastic as a personality.
Yeah. Like the it's a big warning sign. I think especially doms need to learn that lesson, is that if someone is using the term, or subs as well, if you're an S-type and you have a dom or a D-type that's really pushing things beyond what makes sense and justifying it with the role, you've got a problem. And that works in both directions. My experience has been with those 2 things, with the subs who are just lazy. They don't really have any thoughts. They don't really have any input. They just say, hey, I'm going to be a sub. We're just going to do what you want. And that can be fun, but at the same time, it can be limiting, because it tells me that they're not putting any thought into it at all. Yeah. And that's where a lot of the most fun and the most intimate and the most creative elements come from in a dynamic, is when there's investment and when there's thought on both people's parts. Yeah. So a sub does not mean be lazy, and a brat does not mean I'm just going to be a complete asshole and call myself a brat, and that gives me license. So if those are the experiences I've had. What about you?
I agree, and I have to just like go ahead and say there are some people who are in the mindset of not thinking in relationships, and I encourage those relationships if that's what you want. But if you're hoping to have more of a partner, that's probably not what you want. And that's what we're saying in terms of that's laziness, and that's harder because it's a one-sided relationship that requires one person to do all the work, and the only perk is usually like license to do whatever you want with that person's body and like sex. And as I grow older, I'm learning that sex is like great, but it's not a license for this, that, and the other. There's like the joke in the black community of like, oh, like, you know how everyone's doing that, the most popular porn now is like the rent porn, and there's like the rent porn, like a person can't pay their rent so they bang their landlord. Okay. So like there's a joke in the black community, especially in the black nerd community, where they're like, especially because a lot of us are wealth oriented, they're like, the girl's like, oh, I can't pay my rent, can we work something out? And we're like, yeah, pay your rent. And she's like, what if we have sex? I'm like, is your body worth like literally the $2,000 it costs to live here? Nah, not at all. Like, it's not. And that's just a joke, is that, you know, sex is not enough to really cover all of the work that goes into such an intense relationship. It's not. It never will be, unless that's what the person wants. Like if you just want sex,
if you just want to fuck,
have fun. But if we're talking about the long-term relationships, DS relationships, nah, bro. Sex is not gonna save you, because it's just too much. It's too much work. So yeah, like if you want that kind of simple relationship and it works for you, go for it. But most people don't, and especially dominance, it's just so much work. It's so much work. And same thing for submissives. I really enjoy alpha submissives, and that's what I've been working with recently, and I'm very lucky to have close friends who are giving me license to use their alpha submissive sides. And they're like, yeah, a dominant that doesn't really know what he wants is fucking awful. I'm an alpha submissive. I like getting shit done. I like getting shit done early, and I like being rewarded for it, and I like them to tell me more things to do, and then I like creating more things. Like, alpha subs are fucking amazing. And if you're not a good enough dom that can keep up with them, they're going to leave you because they need someone who can handle them, control them, control their energies, give them what they need, which is things to do. And there are different types of alpha submissives. If you're alpha submissive, tell me what you like in like below, because there's tons of you, and I've met very few of you, but you guys are amazing. I love you. So people have to understand that stuff's heavy work. That's why frenzy is like a really important topic right now, because you're going to have a bunch of people going out thinking they want one thing and then they want the other, or not knowing what they want, and then it's going to cause a heavy burden on the relationship and it's going to fail. And yes, like it's pandemic's time, and when that's over, you don't need a long-term relationship. You just need to get these things out. But knowing that will be super helpful. Like, it just will.
On top of this, I'd like to, I've looked up some BDSM scientific articles, and I think this is a really fun kind of topic you want to look into. And if we can find articles or things like that, those are really good things to provide.
Yeah, we can share them.
There's one of them, I'm looking up one of them right now, psychological characteristics of BDSM practitioners. Mm-hmm. And it tells a lot about the type of people that we're looking at.
Hold up. Let me try to give like a, before you read it, because I know you will. I think I have a archetype that we talked about before. Okay, so the archetype of BDSM practitioners, I think, is similar, if not the exact same, of anyone who is deep into the gaming and or anime community, which is a person or persons who have had hardships in their childhood that have created interesting like mental schisms into their adulthood. So like if you were neglected as a child or bullied, you're more likely to enter the anime or BDSM scene, because people who have had such rough, if not non-standard childhoods, tend to grow up faster and find a need to seek their childhood in something else, like being powerful in the form of superheroes, or in kink being powerful in the sense of owning oneself and one's mind. So they enter the BDSM world for people who like pain, are like, oh, I can really own my body by controlling the pain that I'm given versus what society gives me and I can't control. So it's usually people who want control or want fantastic lifestyles that they couldn't have had as a child. That's my guess.
Well, you're basically right on the money. So I'm gonna
boosh marketing, motherfucker.
But the way they actually measured it was based on Big 5 personality characteristics. So I'm gonna describe those as we go across them. So the first thing they said, the results mostly suggest favorable psychological characteristics of BDSM practitioners compared with the control group.
Mm-hmm.
That means we're generally more healthy, less. So this is what they said: the BDSM practitioners were less neurotic, and neurotic in this case means someone who's emotionally sensitive. So BDSM practitioners are less emotionally sensitive. We're more extroverted, generally, which means we have more contact with more people, and that gives us energy. And we're more open to new experiences, generally, and that's part of just having fun.
Okay.
And more conscientious, which is a measure of organization and hard work. So we're willing to work hard, especially in our kink lives.
Okay.
Less rejection sensitive, so we can handle rejection better.
Oh yeah.
Because we're gonna deal with that shit a lot.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it'll be for stranger reasons than vanilla life. I got rejected once because I was too tall. It's like, what the? All right, let's do this.
Okay, and then there's more stuff. It said we have higher subjective well-being. We think of ourselves mostly as in a better state of mind than people who are than vanillas, because we have this outlet.
Mm-hmm.
And then the one thing that they said that we have less of is agreeable personality. Agreeable means friendly. We are just less friendly than vanillas.
Cause fuck vanillas.
But the everything else we're doing pretty well in, and those are the main differences. So and it says they're about the same for doms and submissives. They're a little bit better for doms in general, because all of those things about not being super sensitive to emotional states, or not being sensitive to rejection or whatever, tends to help out with doms more.
Yeah, and then we have responsibilities, so we can't let ourselves be emotional. Like, I made the mistake of being emotional with someone earlier in the year, and it collapsed the relationship. I just know it.
Yeah.
And that was like me trusting a person, but that even so, like, you want to roll that shit out, like, now I know to roll that shit out super duper late with a person that's like truly trustworthy. Like, I'm not gonna make that mistake again.
That's a good lesson to learn, man. And that's the thing, you learn all these lessons. And the conclusion of the study, and I can tell you about the study. Let's see, it was done at
tell people the name so they can look it up themselves.
Yeah, it's called Psychological Characteristics of BDSM Practitioners. And they did the study in the Netherlands. And
my favorite country.
Yeah, they're amazing. And so the conclusion was BDSM may be thought of as recreational leisure rather than expression of psychopathological processes. It's more about fun than it is about the coping mechanism. And I think a lot of people consider it just a coping mechanism, but I think you had it right on the money when you started. You said because the people who are more excluded from the society or grew up in different circumstances, we're more pushed out, we find ways to have fun. And this is a way to have fun. It's less about, kind of dealing with our traumas, and it's more about having fun and as an outlet.
I think there's the added bonus of that it can help handle the traumas if it's done right. If you've got a good community, not even if you have a good partner, if you have a community, that's kind of enough. Like, when I came into the scene, I was lucky enough just to be a ridiculously weird 18-year-old man with fox ears, which I will totally buy when I have more money again and just run around with them. But I was lucky enough to meet like a bunch of friends who are nice and go, man, you're weird. And I'm like, yeah, I'm weird, but I love this. And they're just like, oh, that's great. We love you. And I'm like, and I spent my entire first year just asking how not to be that guy everyone makes fun of. And that helped me because as a kid and I was a very popular kid all throughout my lifetime, but I was also the kid people made fun of. So it's like this weird middle ground. Everyone wanted to be me, but they were so ingrained in the vanilla culture that they were totally okay with just making fun of me all the time. So when I got in the scene and so I got to be weird in myself and no one was making fun of me, they were laughing with me and then also helping me, that was so much better. It was just like, I'm like, yeah, I'm weird. I'm probably not going to change. I don't want to. I have more fun this way. And then someone in particular, like Plan B, a really good friend of mine's like, yeah, man, we've got you. We like you. Here, join this, this group. We'll help you. We'll chat with you and you'll meet other weird people. And we respect you for asking questions, because I told them, I'm like, I'm dominant. And an 18-year-old going to a munch going like, you're dominant? Are you serious? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, okay. But then I wasn't like, I'm dominant. I was like, I'm dominant. Please fucking help me. I keep reading articles saying that we're crazy, and I don't like that. And there's so many pitfalls. Help me. Everyone's like, oh, we see that you're new. You know yourself, but you need help. That was so much better, and it helped me. It was fun, but it also helped me with my anxiety, with my social issues, with coming into a new environment. Everyone was just like, it was helpful. It was fun, but it was also helped me with like problems that I had. So it's just the added effect of if you have a good community, like I said, not even a good partner, just a good community, you'll do well. And I think that everyone in LAKC and listening to this podcast needs to know, if you're looking for healing or something great to help you out, one, it starts with you. You got to work on yourself. But two, if that's kind of hard, and I understand that can be hard, especially if you don't know what you're doing, find a great community. Find people that value you, that like you, that actively want to talk to you and have fun with you and like respect you and respect your time and your worth. You're going to be fine. You're going to be absolutely fine. And it takes time, or you may just get lucky. So take that time and you're going to be fine. Because like I said, I took the time and it was super helpful. I didn't even go to a munch until my second year. I mean, not a munch. I didn't even go to a party until my second year. Whole first year was just munches and getting advice and trying not to suck. And it worked out, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, and there's lots of rewards to it. If you look at, and like the study says, we're more able to be stable and, more extroverted and more open to experiences. We just tend to be a little bit more pissed off because of some of the shit we deal with, a little less friendly than vanillas. But it turns out in the community, like you said, the experiences, people are willing to help. And they're willing to help.
Yeah.
They may not be like the super nicest, but they're always willing to help.
There's always that guy. But I also think that relates to the hard working portion, because that's how I noticed. Like I told you, I switched from looking for work to being the guy who gives out work. Like I'm an entrepreneur now, and it's really hard. And I'm still in the beginning stages of it, of like turning my brand into a real company. Because I've had this brand for like about 5 years, but I haven't made the only money I've made off of it. I can't make anymore because of the pandemic. So I'm switching into full on like the government knows I'm a company, so I can pay people and stuff like that. When you enter this sphere and you take it seriously, you realize that the people that are super successful are kind of colder, and it's because they know what they want and they don't want their time wasted. So it's not like they're mean or anything. It's more that they're just focused. There are some people who are mean. There's always a bad apple on a tree. There's no way you can get away from it. But in my opinion, people in the scene who have been in the scene long enough and are experienced are going to know when you walk up to them and you're going to be a waste of their time. They'll probably be nice to you just because like pleasantries, but if you run out that niceness, it's over, son. And for me, I used to let that. I used to have the longest niceness core. Now it's over. I'm just like, who? Out. Because I had a conversation with a friend about the famous Threshold kitchen. And I'm usually the guy in there talking about this, that, or the other. And this amazing friend of mine who I love her to death. She's just like, I hate when I'm in the kitchen and we're talking about something fantastic and then someone brings up their problems. I'm just like, in my head, I'm like, shut the fuck up. But in reality, I just leave. And I'm like, well, I'm half and half. I will tell you to shut up because I honestly am there for a good time. And I paid $20 to get into a small area and to hope to have a good time. So I have to make a good time. I can't deal with your issues. I don't have the capacity, and you're not paying me for my listening service. So you're wasting my time. I mean, everyone deserves to be heard, and if that's where you want to be heard, fine. But if I'm there, I'm probably not going to be super nice about it. I'm just going to be like, I love you and I respect you, but this is not the place to air out your sadness. This is a kitchen. Everyone's probably half naked. Let's have a good time.
Well, you're supposed to keep some clothes on in the kitchen. But
you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Yeah.
About it. But I agree with you. I think people who are in the scene, in addition to that stability, that mental stability that we have, we're less likely to suffer fools.
Put up with people's shit. To basic English. We don't want your shit. We just don't.
So that was one study. I got one more study for you. This is the Czech Republic.
I'm actually really excited about this.
This one is more interesting, and they did it based on population. Okay. So the last one in Denmark, they had let's see, the number of people was 902 BDSM practitioners and 434 vanillas. So they had twice as many practitioners. Yeah, kinky people, they had 900 kinky people and they had about 400 vanillas.
Okay.
This one is Czech Republic, and they had a little bit different. The last one was from 2013. This one, I'm going to confirm the date. This one was published 2018, more recent.
Ooh.
And this one had 673 people in the Czech Republic, and they had a lot of data here. This is a really interesting one. It's called sexual arousal by dominance and submissiveness in the general population.
Okay.
So this is explicitly about how dominance and submission creates a desire and sexual reactions.
Horniness.
All right. So it was a really great study, and you can kind of look it up.
Mm-hmm.
And
wait, say the title so people can look it up themselves.
Yeah, the title is Sexual Arousal by Dominance and Submissiveness in the General Population.
Sweet.
And you can find it on different pages that show this kind of stuff.
Yeah, if it allows it, I'll put it in the comments below.
Right. And so I'm going to read off some of the stats. It's really interesting. For men, the percentage of vanillas was 48.9%. So half of men are vanilla.
Okay.
That's just flat out. And then we had after that we had 28.7% were dominants. So about 30% of men are doms.
Ooh.
And then we had submissives was 6.1% of men. So submissive men are about 6% of the population in total. And then switch men were about 16.2% of the population.
That sounds about right, yeah.
There's double as many switch men as there are sub men.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and there's about 5 times as many dom men as there are sub men. That's kind of interesting. For women, the number of vanilla women was 60.6%. So 60% of women are vanilla.
Because they don't know about us yet.
I mean, and that's one of my big points. I always say all roads lead to primal. Yeah. Always. Yeah. All roads lead to primal. It's always instinct, period. And I think, so I kind of agree with you. If it's 60% of women are vanilla, according to the study, maybe they're not.
They don't know about us yet. They haven't had the juice.
Right, so that's 60%. But the percentage of women who are doms from this study.
Can I guess?
Yeah, go for it.
I guess that their number of dominant women is going to surpass 15%.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. You're wrong.
No! No!
You're wrong.
No!
So look, the number of dominant women is 3.4%.
What? Okay.
So this is a conversation I've had with sub men before, that they're looking for dominant women.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the result, and this is the Czech Republic. Like, this is not anything necessarily the U.S., but there are almost twice as many sub men as there are dom women.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
And then the number of women who identify as subs was 31%.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, which is actually more than the amount of men who identify as doms.
Damn.
But the number of women who are switches is 5.1%.
Where's the rest of the percentages? Vanilla?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, that's right.
60% vanilla, 3% dom, 31% sub, and 5% switch for women.
I speculate if we were to make the 64% kink aware, it'd be 15% of women are dominant, and the larger majority are switches, like over 30%. That's my speculation.
I don't think so. I think.
Well, for Denmark, yes, I would say, because Denmark's population of like how women are treated in their society is different than in the Americas.
That's true, but here's the difference. In the Scandinavian countries, when you create social equality, that means genetic equality maximizes, or genetic differences maximize. If you create an equal society, then our genetics are the defining factor.
Okay, I know what you mean personally, but I think you should explain that to the people who are listening, because that makes sense to me. But go ahead.
So this is a very interesting discussion, and the idea is
try to keep it short because we got to wrap up soon.
If you're in like Saudi Arabia or India, where the culture is very different it's not they don't have gender equality, then those social factors are going to be the most significant thing in defining people. But when you go to Scandinavian countries like Norway or Denmark and you create an equal society, when you create more gender equality, then the actual genetic differences between men and women maximize more. So an example of that is the number of engineers in India is closer to 50-50. 50% women, 50% men, engineers. In Sweden and Denmark, the number of engineers is 95% men, 5% women. Less women are interested in engineering, and when they're free to choose, they won't choose that. That's an interesting concept.
Yeah.
And
so what you're saying is an equal society doesn't like make female presenting peoples have to prove themselves, because their society is saying like you're equal, so it's okay if you'd rather be an architect, or you'd rather be a teacher, or you'd rather be an Uber driver or whatever. Versus
it turns out in those countries the opposite of the engineering is nursing. It turns out 95% of women, or 95% of nurses are women in the Scandinavian countries. So in the most gender equal societies, the job differences is extremely split. And I think it's the same for kink. The more equal the society, the more the genetics come out.
Okay, I can understand that. I still think that switching will be for the Americas super high, because even if we create this like ideal society, there's still so much ingrained in the American idea of individualism that women are going to remember that for a long fucking time.
I don't think it's individualism. I think it's Christianity. It is specifically Christianity as the factor. And I think if the number of people, and this is a huge topic for your podcast, is to really delve deep into Christianity.
Yeah, it's going to be another different. That's going to be different.
No. I think my perspective is that kink people are running away from Christianity and they don't want to talk about it.
Yeah,
you really don't. You don't want to talk about it. If you're LGBTQ or something else, you don't want to talk about Christianity, even though it's a huge factor. And I think if you can create a space, you personally, Foxy, if you can create a space to really go over people's traumas, but also to give them information about Christianity, you can move past it quicker. So that's back to the study.
Yeah.
Back to the study. The big differences again. About 50% of men are vanilla. About 60% of women are vanilla. About 30% of men are doms, but about 3% of women are doms. About 6% of men are submissive, and about 31% of women are submissive. About 16% of men are switches. Only about 5% of women are switches. And this is Czech Republic. And
that's so interesting.
Right,
I would expect way more switches.
Yeah,
I just respect
the numbers are different, and this is one thing I would say. If the biggest problem is if you're a male sub, you are not getting a good deal here.
You're in the desert, bro. Your water is far off.
You have very little chance. And in my experience, and I'm going to be real honest. My experience in talking to male subs is that they really want that intimacy. And it sometimes takes some maternal kind of experience. They really want a mommy dom in many cases, and I think that's really great. But they are not going to find it easily. They're going to have a hard time. So what I tell male subs is, you better learn to switch it up. You better learn to switch it up. You better learn to be able to provide that, because if you don't, you're cutting your own chances down of meeting someone by a lot.
I agree with you, but I want to say, like, if you can't, that's fine. It's okay to be you. But I'm going to say, as a person who wants that same intimacy, as I've grown as a person, the need for it and how it has manifested has changed. So I know this sounds like a cop-out answer, and if you don't like it, put it in the comments below and we can kind of chat about it like civilized people. But when I started, I didn't know I needed the intimacy. And then I reached my middle stage and I'm like, oh, I want this really bad. And I realized mommy doms exist. I'm like, I want that. And then now, as in my third form, my Frieza third form with a long head, the long fingers, I've realized that it'd be great to have that, but it's a specific thing. It would be like a mommy type person, but she'd be a submissive. I don't want her as a dominant. Specific, and honestly, this is because I've learned myself more, and I've had an experience that you know about that just really sucked, and I realized that the person a person likely can't give me what I'm like looking for without me being probably the dominant in it, and that's just my experience. So what I would suggest to male submissives, especially in this landscape, is one, while those numbers are interesting for Denmark, I honestly believe the female domination rate is higher out
Czech
here.
Republic, not Denmark.
Yeah, Czech Republic. Yeah, so I think the female dom rates are higher out in the coastal cities. So just look for female dom events; they are popping up more. That is my main advice to you. But also just like realize why you want that and see if you can kind of resolve it on your own, or at least learn it so you can probably evolve it and find a more like interesting and graspable situation. Because a lot of the ones that I taught and talked to, especially when me and you were at Sanctuary and we're doing the booth, when they talk and I listen, you realize like, yo man, you're having a hard time. And it's not even because you're a male sub looking for a female dom, it's you're a male sub looking for a female dom not knowing what most of them are like. And I tell them to go so they can experience it and understand what they like and understand if it's what's for them. Because I sent one to Dom Nation and he came back and he was just like, I went and it was great and it was fun to see all of them, but then I realized what I wanted specifically in a partner. It changed drastically overnight, and I think that's great. It's probably jarring, but it's great because you go and you realize, okay, these, and not saying female dominants are bad, but a person went there and just decided, okay, the way these people dominate isn't for me. I'm looking for a different kind of domination. And then I'd send him to Layer and he found somebody, because at Layer they go ham. They just
from my understanding, the female doms tend to be less into a mommy role in general. In general, they're less into that. They're more into something like I guess more harsh. And I think a lot of male subs are more looking for like a softer version of a mommy dom.
Be nice to me, please. And just to be very clear, we're males. Please give us your opinion in the comments if you're female dominant, because I do want to understand you. I joined a female domination group on Reddit just to like kind of understand and learn what they're all about and read about like how they are and learn techniques for them, because all the best techniques I've learned are from female doms. You guys are fantastic.
Okay. One more thing. I want to go back to the study.
Okay.
And this is back to Czech, and this is an age difference between in men and women.
Okay.
And this tells you how the culture is changing. This is a snapshot of the ages. It's not showing people aging over time. It's saying if we took a snapshot right now, what is the difference between generations?
Okay.
And that's a big difference. So let me give you an example. It shows age from this. The age split is from 25 to 34, and then from 35 to 44.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So like,
let me make a guess. Something tells me that the people in the 30s and 40s are more fluid, because that's just what I've experienced. Like when you hit 30 and 40, like these roles matter less, but the negotiation in these roles matters more. Because when you're 20, you're like, I'm dominant or I'm submissive and nothing's gonna change that. But when you're 30, you're like, I don't give a fuck. Like, can you spank me and then we can go get dinner? Like that sounds great. Well, that's what I think.
So, and this is what I think, it's a cultural thing, and that means we're going probably back to Christianity and other cultural factors.
Yeah.
So the younger dominants, younger vanillas are 53, or younger men are 53% likely to be vanillas.
Mm-hmm.
Older men are 49% likely, 46% likely to be vanilla. So the older men right now are less vanilla. They're more kinky.
Yeah.
Younger counterparts. Okay? And then you go to doms. Young men are 22%. 22% of the young men identify as doms, but 33% of the older men identify as doms. Again, cultural factor. The young men, 7.7% identify as subs. The older men, 5% identify as subs. So again, consistently you're seeing the older men being more dominant. And this is not the same men over time. This is a snapshot right now showing the different generations.
Okay.
And then for switches, the young men are 16.7% switch, whereas the old men are 15.9. So that's 16.7 to 15.9. That's pretty close. The number of switches is pretty close.
Okay.
But it looks like the number of the big difference is then the 10-point difference really in the percentage of men that are identify as dominant. Older men identify as dominant by a 10% difference.
Okay.
That's the big difference.
That's a lot.
Okay. Yeah. So now we go to women.
Mm-hmm.
Again, age 25 to 34, and then the next group is 35 to 44.
Mm-hmm.
So if we look at who is vanilla, the younger women are 54% vanilla.
Okay.
The older women are 65% vanilla.
No, I knew this was coming. I'm disappointed.
This is where it gets interesting. The older women are far more vanilla because, and this again is probably cultural. Their expectations are very, are that, you know, what you might consider dom or sub. They might consider that just part of regular relationships,
Mm-hmm.
vanilla relationships. But it could be something else. So it's a big difference. 10% difference in vanilla. The older women are more vanilla, and then you go, okay, who's a dom? And there's a big difference. The younger women are 5.6% of them identify as dom.
Mm-hmm.
The older women, 1.7% identify as dom. So that's a 3-point. That's significant. The older women are far less likely to identify as doms. Then we go to subs. This is where it gets interesting. For younger women, 34.4% of them consider themselves to be subs.
Mm-hmm.
For older women, 28.5. So that's a noticeable drop from
Jesus
34
Christ.
to 28. The older women are less likely to consider themselves sub, but they're more likely to consider themselves vanilla. So again, my reading of this is older cultural Christian ideas of relationships. They may consider themselves vanilla, but they may already incorporate some of these relationship topics. That's a possibility. And then the last one is women who are switches.
Mm-hmm.
The younger women, 5.6% switches.
Yeah.
Older women, 4.7% switches. Not too much of a difference. 1 percentage.
Yeah, I think it's that after a while, those like extreme relationships become just relationships for a lot of them.
Right.
And that's kind of what happens. That's why I knew the switch one wasn't going to change very much. Because if you were in a relationship where power is actively exchanged, and I mean like actively, like 2 arrows forward and 2 arrows back versus 1 arrow each way for power dynamics, like there's no need to really change who you are because the relationship is already basically equal. Like sometimes you're up, sometimes you're on the top, sometimes you're on the bottom, and usually that's why I really enjoy dating switches and or alpha submissives, is because those power exchanges are so obvious. And everyone can actively feel them versus just like protocol and ritual where everyone just kind of falls into them versus one of my alpha subs waking up one morning going, we're going hiking, and I'm like, all right. Like that kind of active exchange doesn't need to change over time because everyone is actively powerful in those situations, even if that powerfulness is submissive. Like if I tell my alpha submissive like, hey, I need to get this, that, and the other done this week, she's an alpha submissive. She may decide to go like, hey, if you want to get this done, we're doing this. And I'm okay with that because that's the relationship we've built. And each of us is actively powerful and visibly powerful in those relationships. So why change it as you get older? You don't need to. No one feels powerless and nothing needs to really change in my personal opinion. Unless like the person changes, then renegotiate. That's totally okay.
And that might be it. It might be some of the older women might be involved in relationships where there is some kind of power exchange, and they're just the normal kind of thing. They're like, you know what? At this point, it's basically a vanilla relationship.
Yeah, unless they really enjoy those extremes of like that active ritualistic thing or protocol.
This is the question of are you aroused? That's the idea.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
It's an arousal question.
Okay.
Are you aroused by dominance and submissiveness? And again, the rituals or something else, that could be a specific act or something else that wasn't included, but it's the question of arousal. And we're still getting a big, again, on a total level, if you combine every group, 54% of people are vanillas.
Well, hold on. the arousal thing is a big, interesting thing. Now that I remember that it's about arousal, the data makes sense, because it's just like, after a while, in my personal opinion, I'm not a female. Please put your comments in the comments below. I think that you become more aroused by your partner than the things that you and your partner are doing, because it's just like that intimacy is there, and it just becomes sexier to just be with your partner, versus a guy who gets older, and it's just, it possibly gets just more fun to shout out commands and have them like follow.
Maybe that might be part of it.
That's my shotgun blast answer. That's totally just out of the blue. Please put your comments in below. I'm really interested. I'm also interested in everyone putting their ideas of what the American numbers would be in the comments, just to see what you guys think. Because I honestly believe that out here there'd be way more dominant females. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, and I can send you a copy or the DOI for this one. You can look it up.
Sure.
It's tons of fun, and the results are really interesting. And they really had a big question about this, and the idea is still that over 50% of people are, for the most part, not sexually aroused by dominance and submission.
Because they don't know about it. They don't know about the juice.
Yeah,
no, I'm just kidding.
That could be part of it. They don't know about it. But then you break it down. About 17% of people are dominants. About 17% of people are submissives. About 11% of people are switches.
Yeah, those are some weird numbers, man.
Yeah, so there's 3 times as many men who are switches than women, and there's 5 times as many women who are subs than men.
Aroused by it. Remember, aroused
by submission. And then there's the 28, 28.7 and 3.4. Let's give it like a 9. Yeah. 9%. 9 times as many men are dominant than women.
Those are some good stats. All right, let's wrap this up. You got any tips, suggestions, any final words you want to say to the people before we wrap up?
I think this is all really good, fun data and good stuff. I think it's good to learn as much as you can. I think the curiosity will help you always in every aspect of your life. Curiosity is the number one most important thing. And if you have that, you're going to learn everything. You're going to solve the problems. You're going to become wealthy, and you're going to have a great family and health and everything else. Yeah. Just keep curious and recognize that as the most important value.
Yeah, I'm going to wrap up saying that thank you guys for listening. Please, once again, interact with us. This is what I'm doing this for, is to create a community, to have fun talking with you guys, to learn and to teach, and to just really engage in the community. So your comments mean a lot. Also, my tips for to end this off is yeah, be curious, but learn yourself. Be curious about you, because that self-curiosity gets you so goddamn far, and it won't feel like it. It won't feel like it until you end up in a situation that you've been in before, and you know that you can make a different decision. And for me, that would be with my money and my relationships. I've had better financial gains recently, and I've also made better friends and done better relationally when I started to realize, oh, I'm falling into a pattern. This is stupid. I should stop doing this. I need to learn what I really like, or does it make sense for me to get into a relationship? Learn those things about yourself. They don't sound fun, but trust me, they can totally be fun when you can look at a person and go, we will never date. You have no clue how fun that is to look at a person and just go, I will never be in a relationship with you. It makes you feel so good to know what you want. It's so damn good. And of course, if you're new, read, make friends, find a community. I suggest not trying to find a partner early. You're free to do whatever you want, but find a community. It's gonna be so much better. And to wrap it up, thanks guys. We'll see you in a week, and have a good one. I have been the Magic Fox. He has been Super Jesus. If you have any questions, put it in the LAKC comments and or the messages on whatever platform we're on. And bye. Say bye, Super Jesus.
Bye everybody. Take care.
Yeah.